Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee With. I'm your host, Christopher Evans, and today it's a pleasure to welcome to Coffee With John Miles. Hi, John.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. So glad to have you with us today.
It's great to be with you.
So I have to ask how life is in Cape May these days. Are you missing a fish sandwich from the Lobster House right about now?
Well, you know the Lobster House. Yeah, it's a pretty iconic restaurant here in Cape May. Now, what my wife and I are blessed to be able to be here. We've had a place here for many, many years, and we decided to make this our permanent home as I start moving in closer to my retirement. So we love it here. It's our favorite place on earth.
I can see why, and it brings back a lot of great memories for me from
That's
childhood
great.
visits there. So tell us, John, a really interesting background you have. How did you first get interested in the insurance business?
Oh, geez, it's funny you say that. We actually have an employee who's our vice president of claims. I always tease her because she actually majored in risk management and insurance at Penn State. And I think she's the only one of our 125 employees who intentionally went into the business. Most of us have fallen into the insurance business because we just needed something to do and needed a job. So my undergraduate and postgraduate work was actually in psychology, which has served me very well in my management career. And while I was in graduate school, I was working as a drug and alcohol counselor. And then I moved on to selling cookies for Keebler Company, which was a very good job, by the way. Sold some business equipment for a while. And then I actually got a job for an insurance company in customer service and ended up here, 41 years later, having an insurance career. And it turned out to be a very rewarding career. What I tell young people is that the insurance business is sometimes misunderstood. You have perceptions based on the commercials that you see, but it's a tremendous career opportunity. It's varied. There's 400 different careers in insurance business, whether you're on the company side or the insurance brokerage side. And if you love helping people and you love working in a team environment and you have ambition and like to have a meritocracy, it's a wonderful business to be in. And I wish more young people would intentionally go into the business.
Yeah, well, perhaps you'll inspire a few people today with our
We'll see.
conversation. So, to that end, you've been in the business for quite some time, 41
Yes.
years. What are the biggest changes you've seen during your career?
Tremendous changes. And I think that the most obvious one that people can probably relate to in whatever industry you're in is technology. When I first started in the business, it's interesting. I was a customer service representative before I moved into sales. And at that time, and I'm a lot older than you, so please stay with me, we were still using typewriters and carbon paper and, adding machines. All of our rating was done by hand. And then we had one computer in the office that everyone had to use. And then I actually had a cubicle that had a partition that had a hole cut in it. We had a computer on a Lazy Susan that two people shared, right? And then nowadays, the industry is completely different in terms of the technology use. And frankly, the pandemic has made that crucial to our business to be able to survive and thrive to get through something like that.
Yeah,
I would say that's the major thing. Yeah. Some of the foundational aspects of the business, though, making sure that you're taking care of your clients, forming strong relationships, making sure that you're technically proficient to make sure those things are done. Those things haven't changed. And the people part of the business, I think, transcends even whatever technology does to help us do our jobs easier.
Sure. Innovation by necessity in a lot of cases, right?
Correct.
And evolution. Yeah.
Correct.
You talked a little bit about technology. There's a younger, more tech savvy demographic right now out there.
Mm-hmm.
What is EHD doing to be digital first and to appeal to that demographic?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's interesting that you say that too, because our demographics have changed a great deal. Over the last 5 years, 40% of our employees are relatively new to the company because we've been hiring and growing a lot and also replacing some older people who have retired. And the majority of those people are also very young, under 30, 35 years of age. So they come to us much more easily able to adapt to the technology changes. And we've had to make major investments in technology too. And you try not to just buy the next shiny new toy that's out there because there's so many things in our industry now. InsurTech is a big buzzword in our industry. But we try to look at things through a couple different lenses. First of all, is the technology that we invest in and that we want to utilize going to make it easier for our employees? Is it going to make them more productive, maybe reduce some of the stress in their life? Most importantly, is it going to help us deliver better service to our clients, provide them with easier access to their claims information, to their policy information, being able to get certificates of insurance, and also to maybe correspond with us a little bit easier. And those two lenses have served us pretty well. And we're grateful that we made some of the research and development investments that we did over the last several years. Or I mentioned the pandemic, the once in a century pandemic that affected all of us. We wouldn't have been able to have our employees work remotely or work at home if we hadn't had that infrastructure and some of that training in place. We had to learn a lot on the fly, right? Because we did that by necessity, not by a strategic intention to go remote for a period of time. But frankly, the investments that we made several years ago in technology enabled us to do that. And our younger demographic have embraced it, and it's a brave new world now. It really is.
Jon, what are the core pieces of your personal approach that have really helped you become and stay successful?
Thank you for asking that. I think that I always talk about the shadow of the leader, and an organization is certainly more than any one individual. And all of us, even CEOs, I've been saying this a lot lately as I get closer to stepping down as CEO. We all take on this responsibility, and it's a blessing and an honor and a privilege. But we always do so with the understanding that we're but just temporary caretakers of the enterprise. And we do our best to make sure that under our watch, we try to leave it in much better shape than when we started. For me, I've always believed in core principles of leadership. I've been a big fan of biographies my entire life, a lot of research and development. I'm a huge admirer of George Washington and those kinds of things. So what I believe in order to be successful is you have to really focus on building a successful culture. And the leader of the organization, their most important job is to tend that culture, almost like it's a garden. You've got to water it, you've got to nurture it, fertilize it, and at times you also have to weed it. But it always starts with your own personal attributes and things like integrity, things like honesty, things like over communicating. I believe that most CEOs do a terrible job of communicating clearly to their employees what the mission of the organization is, what strategies we're trying to follow in order to be successful at this current period of time, and to be honest with them about the strengths, our weaknesses, our threats, and our opportunities, the standard SWOT analysis. So those are the things that I think have served me well over the years. And I think that those are extremely important. From an organizational standpoint, culture is one of those things that some people think are like love or like air. You can't really define it. And I disagree with that. I think that a strong culture can be defined by people really understanding what the organization is all about. What is our mission? What are our values? I think there also needs to be a kind of a code of conduct. Here's how things are done around here. And here's how people are supposed to act around here. And to much is given, much is expected. So the leadership group also have to be strong role models too.
Even with much success, Jon, people do make mistakes in the course of a career. What do you think you've learned from some of your mistakes?
Sometimes making a decision and making a mistake sounds like it's a terrible thing, but I think indecision's worse, or being paralyzed by fear or by fear of something going wrong is worse. I like to make that statement. Indecision is the reason why there are so many flat squirrels on the road, right? That's what happens. So I don't think you learn anything, nothing ventured, nothing gained, as the saying goes. So I think that you have to be cognizant of the fact that even as a leader, you have some skills, you have some intelligence, an ability to make good decisions, but no one person can hit the bullseye every time. So you have to be comfortable about gathering input and letting other voices be heard, particularly those that may be smarter than you in a particular area. Gather that information and then make a decision. But I've made a lot of mistakes. And I like to say one of the reasons why some people say that I'm successful is I probably have screwed up more than most people because I haven't been afraid to take initiative and to be a leader. And I also haven't been afraid to admit when I've made a mistake, but let's learn from it. Those are sometimes the best teaching opportunities, the mistakes that you've made, whether it's on a decision that you've made, an initiative that you tried and didn't work, someone that you hired that you thought was going to work out and they didn't. you learn from those, and everything that you do, whether it's a success or sometimes a failure, you learn a lot more from those sometimes than you do from the good things that you do.
Jon, with your success, what do you attribute to keeping you grounded all these years?
Well, thank you for saying that. I hope that's true. But I think it does go back to what I said of always, and it's become much more than a saying for me: faith, family, friends, and then everything else. And I think that's the most important thing, because, and even now, I've become a little bit more introspective as I get closer to the end of my career. I realize that, sometimes it's not the accounts that you win or lose. It's not the meetings that you attend. It's not the projects that you start or finish. It's not all those things that are important. It's hopefully the relationships you've built along the way. And when you're in a leadership position, the most rewarding thing is, have you had a positive impact on other people? At the end of the day, are people going to say things about you like, he was a good person, he was a good leader, he cared about us, he was sincere, he admitted when he made mistakes, he had humility as well as ability. And I think those are the things that are important. And I try to remain very humble by that. I look at, sometimes people look at executives and say, wow, they're lucky, look at all the things they have. And that's great. I've been very blessed, and my family's been very blessed by my ability to get where I've been. But I'm also very humble about it, and feel very, very fortunate. And what other people don't always realize is that when you are CEO in a leadership position, there is a tremendous weight and a tremendous responsibility, because it is my responsibility. I like to say my job can be defined by three things: protect, guide, and grow. That's my job. But I'm responsible not just for myself and my leadership team, but for every employee, and by extension, their family and their futures and their satisfaction and their productivity and their ability to take care of their children and do the things that they want to do to have a healthy and productive life. And I take that responsibility very, very seriously. And it pretty much guides all the things that I do. And to use the word you said, I think that's what really grounds me.
You actually have roots here in the Pittsburgh area.
That's very important to me, obviously. Growing up in Western Pennsylvania, I grew up in Elwood City, small old steel mill town. I was the oldest of six, and my mom is still around, and I have a brother and four sisters that all still live in the Pittsburgh area. So that's how I mainly stay grounded to the Pittsburgh area. And like most people who have left Pittsburgh for the career of other things, I love Pittsburgh. I'm lifelong. I bleed black and gold. I love the Steelers and Pirates and Penguins, and I'm into all that. And so anyway, that's the most important thing. But from a corporate perspective, interestingly enough, we have 4 offices in Pennsylvania. We're very fortunate. We're actually one of the largest insurance agencies in the United States. But we don't do a lot of mergers and acquisitions like a lot of insurance agencies do. But once in a while, we'll do tuck-in acquisitions. And we actually have an office in Pittsburgh. It's located in Cranberry, and it serves clients and individuals in Western Pennsylvania, and it's doing very well. We opened it in 2012. So it's our newest office, our 4th office. And I was so excited to be able to do that. Actually, it came as part of a tuck-in acquisition from an old company that I'd worked at. And they were interested in doing something different, and we acquired some personnel. And it started out very small. We opened up a new office out there under the leadership of Mark Zukowski, who's currently a senior vice president for us. And in the 8-9 years now that office has been open, it's actually tripled in size. They're doing a tremendous job. The people there are phenomenal.
Jon, what advice can you offer to young people who may be looking at a career in the business?
There has been such a giant sucking sound in the insurance business, both on the company side and the brokerage side, where it's been an older industry. And it's traditionally been an older white industry. I like to call it male, pale, and stale, if you could use that term, right? But that is changing. There, over the last 5 to 10 years, and over the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a lot of retirements and a lot of attrition. And that creates tremendous opportunity for young people that are ambitious. Now, you can't come in thinking you're going to be an executive vice president in 6 months. But if you come in and you do a good job and you have ambition, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of opportunities to climb the ladder relatively quickly, and maybe be an executive in your 30s, not have to wait until your 50s or 60s to do that. So a lot of good things going on. I would highly recommend young people to really kick the tires hard on the insurance industry.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like there's a number of different paths and a lot of great reasons to look at it for sure. Well,
Yes.
John, I want to thank you for being our guest today and thank all of you for joining us on Coffee With.
Thank you, Chris. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it.